and this is the second episode in the Columnstore and Batch Execution Mode video series. Today, we ain't talking about the Columnstore indexes. We are focusing on the batch execution mode, otherwise known as the fast one. When your queries run in the batch execution mode for the Columnstore indexes, it's probably running faster. Well, unless sometimes it's not. In any case, today we're not talking about the history, we're not talking about the present, we are looking a little bit into the future, because a couple of months ago Microsoft has announced that the next version of the SQL Server 2019 and the Azure SQL Database will get some exciting feature, batch execution mode on the Rowstore indexes. If you are interested to check it out, follow me. What is the batch execution mode? Batch execution mode is essentially a vector processing. Instead of the traditional way for the traditional Rowstore tables of processing every single row between the iterators on a one-by-one basis, Microsoft has implemented since a number of years the batch execution mode, the vector processing, which will take the groups of rows and apply the same operation on them at the same time. It's like if you are a programmer, imagine invoking a function for tens millions of times, or instead of doing that, imagine passing a parameter of array and for every circa 900 rows, process them at one invocation. That's a huge acceleration, and that's how the batch execution mode was designed. Welcome to the demo part of the batch execution mode on the Rowstore. Here I am using a 10 gigabyte pre-generated TPCH test database. What I will do here is simply I will run and execute the simple aggregation query on a line item table. As a matter of fact, I already did. If you take a look at the execution plan, and see the cluster index scan properties, you will notice I am doing the row execution mode on the Rowstore, right? This is what you will expect in any versions before the SQL Server 2019. It took me around 50 seconds to obtain the results. For the number of rows I have here, which is a pretty big number if you can see, it might be considered okay, but well, we always want to go faster. So check out the same query which I will execute against the same database, but after enabling the batch execution mode on the Rowstore. It shouldn't be taking the same amount of time, at least I hope it won't take me just the 50 seconds, it should be taking less. So check it out, it took me around 19 seconds to obtain the same result. Oh, you might say, whoa, what happened actually? Well, if you take a look at the execution plan, you will see that this time the actual execution mode is a batch, and the storage is not a Columnstore index, it's traditional Rowstore. And it's not only the Columnstore index scan, the compute scalar executes perfectly within the batch execution mode. The hash match aggregation, the same. We have the batch execution mode spread over our execution plan as it should be. And instead of 50 seconds, we went down to 90 seconds without doing a thing. So that's how fast the batch execution mode can speed up some of your queries. And the next step, we'll take a look at how to enable and how to disable the batch execution mode on the Rowstore. Welcome to the part where we will find out how to execute the control of the batch mode on the Rowstore. Because sometimes maybe you're still not ready to enable it. Maybe you just finished upgrading the first part and you enable the query store, you want things to settle down to get the old execution plans just in case, and that's where comes the compatibility level. Microsoft did a great job by enabling the compatibility level 150 corresponding to the upcoming SQL Server 2019, and unless you are running this compatibility level, you won't be able to enjoy the batch mode on the Rowstore. So setting the compatibility level to 140 corresponding to 2017 SQL Server, 130 or 120 the previous versions before the SQL Server 2019 will not be able to use the batch execution mode on the Rowstore. So this is one of the best things to execute to make sure that you're ready before enabling. Another way of executing the control is to use the database scoped configurations. Every single database can have the set batch mode on the Rowstore enabled or disabled, as you can see on the screen. And if you set it to be enabled, but your database compatibility level is still 140, you will not get the batch execution on the Rowstore. So be aware of that. There is one more thing you can use, one more hint to be precise, you can apply in order to control the batch mode on the Rowstore. And let's take a look at it. Sometimes you want to run almost every single query in the batch mode on the Rowstore, whenever the query optimizer agrees with you, of course. But there are a couple of queries you just don't want to let to run them in the batch mode on the Rowstore. And for that, Microsoft has currently developed an additional user hint. By using the disallow underscore batch underscore mode user hint, as you can see on the screen, you can disable the batch mode on the Rowstore on this specific query. I love this option. So I decided to run this time these demo queries on TPCH 1 gigabyte database to allow us to see the results significantly faster. And so if I take a look at the execution plan of the both queries, I will notice that the shapes of the execution plans are significantly different. So building the different execution plans for you is the task of the query processor. So if you see the first query, the clustered index scan runs in the batch execution mode on the Rowstore. The second query is this very same query and the same apparently clustered index scan, but the one that is using the disallow batch mode, it runs a little bit different. It runs with the row execution mode on the same row storage. So let's re-execute the queries, this time without the execution plan, which always skews the results. And let's take a look at the statistics time and I/O. So we disable the query, we disable the batch execution mode, and it meant actually that the first query running with 1.8 seconds became 2.9 seconds. But I gotta say that I have already seen a couple of queries which are not running necessarily faster and consuming more resources with the batch mode on the Rowstore, and I believe there will be always a couple of the exceptions where you will need to use this knob in order to nail the best performance for you. So here you go, 3 options. First one is the compatibility level. The second is a database scoped configuration that you can use to enable or to disable the batch mode on the Rowstore. And the third one, well, the third one is a user hint, disallow batch mode. Enjoy them. At this point in time, you might ask yourself, is this batch execution mode on the Rowstore is simply officialized old school clustered Columnstore dummy in batch mode injection? Well, get it straight from here. It's not. It's much faster, it's much more efficient. To prove this, here is the old style CCI dummy table, which will contain the clustered Columnstore index and will contain no row. And simply, I will compare the performance of two queries. One is a simple TPCH query style doing some aggregation, and the same aggregation but just adding the left outer join on CCI dummy on impossible condition. So if we look at the execution plans, we'll see that we're running here clustered index scan batch execution mode on the Rowstore while scanning the index, right? So it looks pretty cool. And it runs in a batch execution mode in a number of iterators. So, should be fine. That's our first query. Our second query, where we did the injection, shows us that the clustered index scan is running in the row mode, and as expected, starting with the compute scalar, the next operation in the execution plan, we start seeing the batch execution mode. And our hash match, of course, will run with the batch execution mode as well. So, the question goes, how much did we optimize? Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at the results. The first query took us 23 seconds to execute. This is the batch mode on the Rowstore. And the second query, the injection, took us through 35.8 seconds. So it's almost an additional 50% of the original execution time. Well, of course, there is no guarantee that it will always run much faster. At least we can be apparently sure that it will not run slower. So the space for the Columnstore batch execution mode injection has got dramatically smaller, if available at all, with the batch execution mode on the Rowstore.
Some final thoughts. You've seen what batch execution mode can do for you. You see how you can get a control of it by enabling it or disabling it on the database level and controlling it even on the query level. You've seen on the demo that it's not just a hack. It will give you at least equal or better performance. So now is the question, is a solution for everything? Is it, let's get rid of the Columnstore indexes and the batch execution mode? Well, you'll need to wait until the next episode. And until that time, cheers and bye-bye.